Hey everyone, in this video we wanted to talk briefly with you about what it looks like to have strong internal boundaries. And to start, I guess the best place would be to know what an internal boundary is.
Yeah, it's a limit we set with our thoughts and our time and our values. All of us will have different ones depending on what we find important in our own life. And you have to ask yourself your own questions on what you find valuable and ethical. Some people have to have like someone else tell them what's ethical. I personally don't. I know, like, I have intuition about what will hurt other people, and my main value is not hurting other people, and that includes myself, and so my boundaries all reflect that, my internal boundaries.
So kind of like an analogy to this would be like you're a house and everyone has their own house, right? Everyone is their own person and everyone gets to decide where around the house they put the picket fence.
Yep.
And that picket fence determines how far from their house they're willing to go and still feel comfortable before they finally cross that line, that boundary.
Yeah, and you know your boundaries are being crossed, even if you haven't set any and sat down. I think everyone needs to sit down and write down what is acceptable and what's unacceptable in their life. But you know when they're being crossed, even if you don't have them set, when you feel uncomfortable or when you start getting angry because someone's doing something you don't like. Well, usually it's because you didn't relay to them that this was a standard for you to be happy.
Yeah.
And so you didn't tell them your boundaries. And so they're bound to cross them if you aren't very direct with them. Yeah. I'm very direct with like what will make me happy.
Yeah, you are. So yeah, with that, when you have strong, I guess this is kind of a nice transition point, because one of the fundamental features of having a strong picket fence, of having a strong internal boundary, is going to be that when the people on the other side of that picket fence start talking to you and giving you feedback about how your house looks, you're just going to appreciate that feedback for what it is, feedback, and you're not going to take it personally. Like, they're on the other side of the fence, they aren't living in your house, like, they can voice their opinions and maybe they have helpful advice. And maybe that's advice that you say, hey, that was useful, thank you. But maybe they're also just a dick. And if that's the case, what's the point of getting mad? You could be like, okay, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what's going on in my house. So I'm just going to acknowledge that you spoke, and that's that. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to get upset.
Yep. Just viewing it as feedback, not a personal attack, is very important in that situation.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of summarizing it. Feedback, not attack.
Yeah. What else is a internal boundary?
Probably believing in your ability to grow. Like, you have to have a strong internal boundaries means that you have confidence in yourself to take hits in life, learn from them, and come out stronger. It doesn't mean that that's always going to happen. You know, sometimes when you get hit, you're going to be on the ground for quite a while. Sometimes you're going to get up, but you're going to have a limp. Like, it's not going to be a beautiful process. Not always. But the point is that you believe in your own ability to get back up and keep moving forward.
Yeah, another one is not reacting to like minor annoyances as like the end of the world, right? From other people. Because in the end, we can't control anyone else, and that's a really hard concept for other people to grasp. But if you have strong boundaries, you realize that strong internal boundaries, you realize that you cannot control anyone else. You're not here to fix anyone. And if they can't respect your internal boundaries, they need to go.
Yeah, kind of feeding off that one. Another sign of a strong internal boundary is allowing yourself to experience emotions, every type of emotion. So like when you feel, annoyed, you don't explode at it, but you definitely sit there and you acknowledge, like, wow, this is really getting under my skin. This is irritating me. What they're doing right now is bothering me. And you sit with that and you appreciate that emotion And maybe you also question, if you're like, I don't understand why I feel this way, that's a good sign for you to start doing a little more introspection.
I always think it's good to question, because there's always anger and annoyance is a secondary emotion. So what's the primary emotion to that? And it's usually because they crossed the boundary and you didn't express it. That's usually the case, is that you had a boundary crossed, but you didn't tell them what the boundary was. So you can expect them not to cross it.
Yeah, yeah. And so then is your irritation with them, or is it with yourself for not expressing your boundary? For a lot of people in the beginning, it certainly happens with us. Our irritation is at them. But, it's...
After you ask why.
Yeah, after you ask why am I so annoyed at you right now, Brianna? It's because, I didn't communicate what my needs were. And so I'm annoyed at you, but that's only because it's misplaced. Yeah. I should have been better myself.
At expressing your needs. And then we respect each other's needs pretty well when we know. Yeah. When we're good at expressing the actual need, the other person respects it pretty well.
Yeah. And so then to kind of tail off that one too, since we just talked about emotions, another big one is not getting hooked by negativity. Negativity bias is huge. We love things that make us angry, that make us fearful. Negative, it's an evolutionarily conserved mechanism called the negativity bias, where we remember and focus on negative things more than positive, because if you find some honey and you eat honey and it feels good, that's great, but that's not going to get you very far. That might make you survive an extra day or two in evolutionary terms, and then you need to go find more honey. But if you get stung by a bee and you die, then that's kind of important.
Yeah, so of course you're going to remember the negative experience more.
Yeah, they're usually...
It keeps you alive longer.
Yeah, there's a purpose more critical in your life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's normal to hyper focus on the negative stuff, but don't. It takes a lot of work, but try not to, Yeah. So what's another one?
Maintaining a standard of excellence without someone else. I think that if you rely on someone else to tell you what to do all the time, a lot of people are dealing with this right now, actually. They're at home working, and they usually have a boss standing over their shoulder telling them, you need to do this, do that. But if you had strong internal boundaries and internal values around that, you wouldn't need someone to tell you what to do, and then you wouldn't resent them, because usually we resent people when they cross our boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's another one too.
Yeah, that's a really good one. This next one is going to go out to mostly all of the guys out there, because I'm definitely susceptible to it frequently as well. And it's, having strong internal boundaries means not jumping to fix other people. So it's funny, because that's
men try to fix everything. Yeah. That's just how they're wired up, ladies. So you need to get used to it.
Yeah, we're naturally protective, and territorial, and we try to fix problems. But not all problems are meant to be fixed, and especially for males, if fixing a problem means passing your own internal boundary, that is not going to be the best route of action. And I guess this is also a good time to mention that you're going to need to get outside your picket fence every once in a while, because sometimes you do need to cross your boundary to get the best possible outcome, and it's going to be uncomfortable for you. Boundaries aren't meant to be a line, like a brick wall you can't pass through. They're just meant to be
They're meant to be fluid and flexible. A flexible mind state is always more beneficial than a rigid one.
Yep. Yeah. And so with that, though, yes, boundaries are meant to be fluid, but I guess our final one is for people that take advantage of that fluidity and continue to walk on your lawn after you just mowed and watered it. Get rid of them. Toxic people that don't respect your boundaries, even when you've made them clear, and to take advantage of any flexibility you do have with them, they do not deserve to be in your life. And that's a tough one, especially if these toxic people are family. But you got to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, I think that one clarification needs to be said, though, is that if you don't express your boundaries, people are going to cross them. So you have to first express them,
Mm-hmm.
and then if that person keeps walking on your lawn, then you kick them out.
Yeah, good picking up on my analogy there.
But I think that a lot of people don't express it, and then they just like cut people off without ever expressing their boundary, and then say it's their fault when it wasn't. It was your fault for not expressing it, because most people are pretty receptive when you tell them not to do something.
Yeah. It's really an inner game for you. We could probably just even break it down into simple steps about how it's going to look, and it's going to be first identifying what some of your general boundaries are.
Values, ethical standards, like that's all where your boundaries are going to lay.
Acknowledge those boundaries, and then express those boundaries, and then be fluid with them.
Yep.
Like, you might need to be a little more stern with your boundaries when you're first getting them set up, just so that you...
Especially if you did not convey them for years and years and years. Like, your family is used to you just letting them walk all over your lawn. Like, you have to express them several times, usually.
Yeah, it's like if you're in the process of building a picket fence, and your neighbor's just going to keep walking in the open parts where the fence isn't yet built, and you're like, can you see I'm like trying to keep you out right here? And they're like, but I'm so used to just using these openings.
You have to train them.
And it's like, no. Like, I got a fence coming up.
But if you try to train them for an extended period of time and they don't listen, then it's time to move on.
Yeah, exactly. So if this video helped you, then that's our goal. And if you know someone who you think could use some help with understanding and setting stronger internal boundaries, then please share this video with them.
Bye.